Welcome back to Brian's Beat. I was just talking to Taylor. He's getting his show all prepped up. He does have the mayor coming on in just a bit, and then he may, if he has the time, get into talking about Michelle Carter, who is in a Taunton courtroom as we speak. Let us continue with your calls on Brian's Beat. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm there.
I'm an educator from the New Bedford Public Schools. I'm calling you on my my lunch break. I couldn't help but hear what you were saying, and I just wanted to comment on why I think there's a discrepancy between how children perform on standardized tests and the actual, what they're actually supposed to be tested on.
Well, bring it on.
Okay, well, what we have in Massachusetts is MCAS, and we have PARC. Well, not PARC anymore, mostly, I think, MCAS. And those tests are not developmentally appropriate for children. And I'm telling you this from a special education standpoint because I'm a special educator. We give children tests that are designed for their age, and they score, we can tell where they are developmentally, okay? But these tests are normed for kids and designed for kids. The ones that are designed for the Common Core are not based on developmental norms and therefore are not appropriate for children. You're making children you're trying to get children to do something that might be 2 years above their age level. It's not appropriate.
Why would a system try to do that? It almost sounds like they're setting kids up for failure. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. They are setting kids up for failure, but they're not just setting kids up for failure. They're setting everybody up, the teachers, the support staff, everybody. You can't win this one.
All right. So let's take what you just stated at face value. Can we do that?
Please.
Okay. So why then would the Massachusetts Business Alliance for Education, if they're trying to prepare kids for productive citizenship, it would seem that these tests and giving them to kids that aren't age appropriate, dooming them for failure, how is that setting up these kids for productive citizenship?
It's not. I don't know the main goal in this. I don't know why they're doing this other than the fact that big business is really honing in on educating children, which is a little scary when you think about it, because if you control the youth of today, you control a lot. That's very. I
got you. Hey, I had a caller earlier. Maybe you can help me out with this, whether it's in special education. You're certainly with the kids. Is there this data mining that the other caller mentioned going on? I wasn't listening to that portion of your show. I just. Well, you would know if you're doing some data mining. Well, in my experience, there's a lot of data mining going on, and teachers are just burdened with collection of data to the point where they really don't have the time to actually teach the students. Well, we heard that from a guest that we had on earlier. What kind of info do you collect? Well, let's see. There's the dibbles. There's there's a lot of different things. There's how they doing with reading fluency. How are they doing with math? And if you saw these tests, if you actually saw these tests, some of them are so ridiculous because even a person your age couldn't pass a kindergarten test just by the way it's written. That's all right. When I was in kindergarten, I couldn't pass the kindergarten test. So no, I'm serious. I couldn't joke about this. It's really sad. I mean, the kindergarten. The other day, one of the kindergarten teachers came up and told me. They said, "Kathy, how do I ask this question?" And they have to ask it verbatim from the way it's written on the test form. And it made no sense. I'm a language specialist. It made no sense to me. So if it made no sense to me, it made no sense to the kindergarten teacher. Imagine the poor kids that are taking the test. You know what? It would be great if you were to give this test or that kind of question, or have the superintendent, sit down and say, well, how would you ask XYZ question? I appreciate your call. Oh, anytime. Thank you. All right, have a good day. You too. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Brian.
Common Core is definitely the brainchild of giant multinational corporations in conjunction with UNESCO, the United Nations, who is trying to push this on to the American public. And you've had teachers call and voice their displeasure in how definitely the system doesn't work. And like you've indicated before, when the school system is failing, people typically want to blame someone. But if the blame's going to be put on, it's going to have to be put on the system itself, because these giant multinational corporations that want to indoctrinate children so that can be just another cog in their piece in making profits.
I hear what you're saying about that, but if as the Massachusetts Business Alliance for Education states that they're trying to get themselves involved here with education so there can be productive citizens, if we're mismatching tests, if we're dumbing kids down, how is that going to help productivity? I don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense. But that's what they say. But in essence, the individual, the creativity of the individual child is being stifled, so that they can just be put in an assembly line and basically memorize dates and data and not do any critical thinking. It seems as though
they always say that they're always talking about critical thinking.
Well, if the dialogue that we've heard from the teachers clearly is telling us otherwise.
I hear you, man. Thank you.
Take care.
You too. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Hello. Am I on the air?
You are on the air, upside down, inside out.
Thank you very much. I have actually attended an MBAE panel discussion along with Jim Sturgis from Pioneer Institute. And the conflict between what we're told and what the plans are is vast. And I'm a grandmother, but I've been following this for 4 years now, and am an activist against Common Core and have been for a long time. My greatest concern is what they're teaching the children, the actual content of the curriculum that aligns with the standards, and the data mining that goes on, the deeply personal questions, family questions, things that don't get discussed outside the house. Who you live with, how many weapons do you have in your home?
Now, hold tight, because who you live with. I mean, isn't that information on because somebody might pick you up at school? But why would they care about how many guns are in the house?
Well, I think that there's a definite left side to this versus right side politically. Okay, this is politically motivated by the left side, not by the right side, although MBAE is noted for their statements stating that those of us who are opposed to Common Core are opposed to it because of our political beliefs, which is not true. We are opposed to it because it's inferior educational standards. Our prior MCAS math frameworks were much better standards. Our kids have dropped in national assessments, both in math and ELA. MBAE, during the panel discussion that I attended, actually told us it's only math and ELA. Yet this week, the new science standards were unveiled.
And?
So they lie all of the time. Plus,
well, wait a minute. You said the new standards were unveiled. Where did we end up with those standards?
Where did we end up with them?
Yeah.
I guess from the same place that we got Common Core math and ELA.
No, I'm sorry. You said it was. You said the MBAE said that it was only English and math where we went down. What did we do with science? Did we go up or down?
I'm sorry. Repeat that last part again.
Did we go up or down in science?
Science wasn't part of the equation, okay? The standards that we are now diminished in are math and ELA only. And at the panel discussion that I attended between Jim Sturgis and a representative from MBAE, the MBAE fellow said that there wouldn't be anything else. We wouldn't be getting any other standards.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But now they're incorporating science.
Right. Now science has been added to the mix.
Okay.
So, this has been lie upon lie. The entire thing has been predicated on an attitude of secrecy, just spring it on everybody. When MCAS first hit the scene a long time ago, there were 2 years of public vetting. And people could come, they could ask questions, and eventually it was adopted. With Common Core, my own grandson, who was a fourth grader at the time, and by the way, one of the highest performing students in the school system, he started out the year with one kind of mathematics, and after the Christmas vacation, it was changed. And this was when I began to be questioned. He's now a 7th grader, and he's in private school. He's no longer in public school because he spent his entire 6th grade year relearning 3rd and 4th grade mathematics the Common Core way, and he had 2 math classes every day in which that was done.
All right. I appreciate it. So I just want to get on to some other callers, but your story is pretty vivid. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye now. 508-996-0500, toll free, 877-996-1420. What say you?
Hey, I just wanted to just talk a little bit about the teacher evaluations that were just posted.
Yes.
And in its relationship to student performance.
Okay.
And if you look at, the proficiency of teachers, and teachers are unsatisfactory, the teachers are making a lot of progress and they're working their tails off.
I didn't see too many I haven't looked at all of them, but I didn't see too many teachers that were rated as unsatisfactory.
That's right, because the teachers are working their tails off. And the reason why it doesn't reflect in student performance is because we don't have the resources in order to provide the students what they need.
All right, so in your mind, what is the resource or resources that are missing?
Well, if you look at someplace like Hayden McFadden, where the principal is now leaving, and the turnaround plan is going to include more community service, more ELL services to these kids. I mean, there's 2 teachers over there providing for how many students?
Quite a few.
Yes. So now, in order for us to make progress, we need to really provide what they need. The resources.
I'm wondering, are you a teacher?
Yes.
Okay. Were you one of the teachers evaluated?
No.
Any idea what the criteria is, what the questions are? How does a teacher get evaluated? What are you evaluated on?
The teachers we're all evaluated on a binder that we put together and data that we collect, not necessarily how we perform in the classroom.
Data that you collect.
Yes,
what kind of data?
It's how many times you might have emailed your had parent contact. What are you doing to improve your own professional development? There's all these standards that we need to meet in order to demonstrate that we are proficient teachers.
How long have you been a teacher?
20 years.
Over the 20-year period, have there always been these types of evaluations?
No, these are new. Probably.
Were there older evaluations?
They were principal-driven. Now,
and what did when they were principal-driven, what kind of questions were you asked then?
The principal would come in and look at how you manage in your classroom.
What a novel idea!
Right. And the other thing is that time on learning. If you have to put up a schedule, if you're not following your schedule, and let's say the student doesn't like, they're not getting it, so you want to switch from math to ELA. Well, then you're off your schedule. So if somebody comes in and looks at you, then you're not performing the way you should be performing.
And would you get a demerit for that?
Yes, you could get a demerit, or it's not viewed as you're teaching the way you're supposed to. So it's sad that the story doesn't get out. It's exactly what is happening. It always looks like that the teachers are the ones.
Well, but I'm looking here, and I'm seeing that the teachers are doing well, but I'm hearing from you now what they're evaluated on. And pardon me, it's not that I'm saying that the teacher isn't doing a great job, but it sounds like the criteria on which you are evaluated on really, who gives a flying hoot? I care about the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s.
Right, yes. And so it really doesn't reflect who we are and how we perform in the classroom.
Thank you for your call. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Bye now. Let us continue. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
There's so many things that factor into this. There's no magic bullet on this. Everybody knows that, or at least I hope they do.
Sounds like there is a magic bullet.
No. Well, actually, there's a formula for it.
Well, the magic bullet, if we recall, went in this way, turned this way, went around. It's upside down, inside out, as I like to say. What was up is down. What is down is up.
Yes. Well, let me give you for instance, My daughter has been a teacher for approximately 15 years. She taught in public school system. She went and got her doctoral in education and got an unbelievable job in the town of Sharon, who is really putting an effort into this. And her job was instructional coach.
Let's back up. You say Sharon is putting their efforts into what?
Into making sure that the teachers are all teaching in the manner that should be, not just left without any kind of instructions. Which that's the most important part of it. How can you not see what your teachers are doing and expect them to do it right?
All right. I guess I don't understand if that means they're teaching the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s.
Yes and no. Every teacher has their own way. It's not down pat, this is how you teach.
I suppose it's all right to... I understand the art of freedom to teach, but I come back at the end of the year, what used to be known as where you should be at the end of the year for fourth grade math, your students should be there. Is that what Sharon is doing? See, I'm hearing a lot of stuff that sounds very convoluted, not just from you, but from what the system is supposed to be. And I would say, let's just shut this whole thing down and get it right.
And start it all over. Well, that's my contention. And even my daughter, she's not doing it anymore. She had a child, and they decided to stay home and raise a family. But the whole major part of it is everybody complaining about teaching to a test. Isn't that what we've always done? Didn't you go to school and have to learn and then take a test and get that test right?
The test was teacher-driven. It wasn't system-wide driven.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. It wasn't the government doing it.
Oh, it was, because teachers are employees of the government.
It wasn't the federal government stepping in and saying you have to teach this way or you don't get this money or...
Right.
That's what's gone crazy, Brian.
I think you're absolutely correct. Thank you for your call and your comments. Hello.
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 About the evaluations of the teachers, the proficient and the ones that are just making it.
Yes.
A lot of it is due to popularity with the principal. If you're in with the principal, you're going to get the exemplary. I'll base my opinion on this is that there was a teacher very nervous that was next door to me when I was teaching, and she didn't know what to do for her evaluation when they come in to observe. So I gave her my lesson. I stayed after school. I showed her how to project, how to, portray what you're giving to the children. She got a very good exemplary on her evaluation. I did a second lesson for my students, but I couldn't do the one that went with the reading lesson because I needed to do something different. So I created another one, and it was just as good in my opinion. And I got the satisfactory. And yeah, I did the other one too.
So they were both your authorship.
Yes, and how I teach. I'm a hands-on teacher. I do all the 5 senses. I shoot off into things I bring from home. I gave her my things. She got exemplary, and I didn't.
Now, how long ago was that?
About 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So I don't know how to throw this evaluation, and I can say that here in the Commonwealth, Common Core came in 2010, and if we're looking at last year being 2015, that would be about 5 years.
This could be even 4 years ago. I retired 2 years ago.
So is the evaluation today, in your mind, vastly different than when you first started in the system?
Oh, yes, completely. The other one had all kinds of checklists, management of the classroom, the noise level. There was all kinds of things that was put down as a list, and they would put satisfactory, and check it off. This next one is you create a binder, and you put evidence that you called parents up. Well, you could call parents up just to say hello, and then you put it down. I call the parent. I know some teachers that said hello to parents in the morning as they stayed outside coming from their cars. They put it down as data.
I don't recall when I was in school parents getting phone calls from teachers unless something was wrong. You know, I didn't do an assignment. I've been missing from school for X amount of days. But now you just routinely will call a family?
You need to you have a checklist of things in your binder, and you have to do those certain things. And the shame of it is, I had a child from Jamaica who spoke very slowly. And when I gave him the data test called Dibbles, he just read the way he talked. He failed because it's a time test, and he didn't do enough words. And that's a shame.
I don't know what to say. I'm not an educator, but if my mind's eye is telling me you're giving a kid a test who reads slow, and but he knows how to read.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And because he couldn't read a paragraph or whatever in a certain allotted time, he is given an F. Doesn't sound like there's any gray area.
It seems to, if the child can read like the wind but has no comprehension, which I had one time when I asked the child, tell me your story, what you just said to me. Couldn't tell me a word, but read like the wind. But taking IQ out of the cumes, we cannot reveal IQs. We don't give IQ tests, and yet they want MCAS on children who have a very low IQ. And then you say, why can't this child do the MCAS?
Well, they want Park now. I think it's going to be a 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I appreciate your comments and everything that you've stated on the program today. Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
508-996-0500. As you listen to some of the teachers, in particular the teachers that called in today, I didn't say, teacher, call me. I'm certainly glad that they're listening and want to comment, whether they are New Bedford teachers or teachers from outside the area. And I have noticed that, too, and I thank you if you're listening to us through the Radio Pup app or at WBSM.com for listening and chiming in today. This is a statewide problem. It may be a nationwide problem, but one thing's for sure, I don't know what good it's going to do the Mass Business Alliance for Education to move forward with this lawsuit. And I certainly hope that on the other side of the street, the Attorney General really did dot the I's and cross the T's when they gave the thumbs up to the ballot initiative for the folks to go out and get the signatures. Because I'd hate to see this thing fall down like a house of cards. Whew. Lot going on today. I appreciate your calls, your comments on Brian's Beat.